Thank you, Jay. My name is Satish Dhanasekaran. I'm the president of the Communication Solutions Group. Very excited to be here today to speak to you about two things. One, the progress we've made in the business, and second, the exciting opportunities we have looking ahead. Before we get started, a little bit about my background. Most recently, I've been appointed to the US FCC's Technical Advisory Council. In that capacity, we serve to provide industry input to the commissioner on new technologies such as 5G and AI. I started my career working in Motorola in R&D designing handsets, and through that process was a customer of Keysight, and I still continue to be a power user of design and test tools, although my team will say my sharpness in that area is falling with time, as expected. I've since held multiple roles in the company, and most recent role was the general manager of our wireless business unit. Transformed the business to industry-leading position, working with the team, and we've delivered substantial growth in the business and profit expansion. I've been in my current role as the president for the last 2.5 years, since August of 2017, and I've been driving a solution strategy and commercialization strategy to take our technology assets and commercialize to the end ecosystems, both on the commercial communications front and on our aerospace and defense end markets. And we're off to a great start. As you know, we've delivered 2 consecutive years of strong growth in the business and profitability. With that, let me get started with the content today. I'll get into more details on 4 key themes. First, CSG and Keysight have solidified our #1 position in the communications end market. We've done so by delivering on our commitments and executing flawlessly. Second, we're actioning significant opportunities in key technology waves such as 5G, defense modernization, and quantum. Third, we're enhancing the value we bring to the market through first-to-market solutions aligned with industry priorities, and our capabilities are significantly enhanced by the acquisitions that Ron referenced before. And fourth, as we look ahead, we're driving a portfolio strategy that enables our customers' digital transformation outcomes with even greater opportunity to create value. Let me start with a little bit of fundamentals on the business. In most recent fiscal year, CSG delivered record revenue and profit to the business. And just a couple of numbers to highlight, over $300 million in top-line growth or revenue growth, and $254 million in operating income growth on a year-over-year basis. If I take a multi-year view of the business, we've taken a business that was roughly in the $2 billion range and moved it up to $3.1 billion. Still in a market of $12.7 billion, plenty of room to grow. What do? We offer communication solutions to 2 end markets, aerospace and defense and commercial communications, with substantial leverage in technology, solutions, and talent between the 2 units. So what have we done since 2018 Investor Day? We made 4 commitments, and I'm happy to say we've exceeded on all the commitments, and the actions that we've taken are set ourselves up with momentum for the future. First, Ron referenced the 5G wave. We are capitalizing on our 5G first-mover advantage by delivering and enhancing our industry-leading platform and deploying solutions on a global scale. That has resulted in 4 years to date of double-digit/triple-digit growth in the business, material to the growth of the company. And we're excited with the progress we've made there. Second, we have taken our Ixia business and returned it to growth, and we have done so by upgrading the platform and by accelerating synergies inside CSG. And the business had a high single-digit growth, as you know, in the most recent fiscal year. And as Ron referenced before, strong start in 2020, Q1. Our aerospace and defense business, we've recognized opportunities to expand through solutions. The areas that we've prioritized are clearly returning us a great result with our U.S. aerospace defense business growing at a strong 7% CAGR for multiple years now. By the way, the U.S. business in aerospace defense is roughly 55% of the total business there. Our commitment is to always grow profitably, and the actions that we have taken in deploying the Keysight leadership model to allocate resources to the best opportunity, resulting in increasing margins for us. And we've grown our gross margin over 300 basis points in the most recent fiscal year. The bottom line, our strategy is working, and the actions that we have taken are setting us up with momentum for the future. Let me now delve into the two end markets just to give us a baseline, starting with commercial communications, where we serve a very diverse, robust ecosystem, which focuses on both wireless and wireline ecosystem. We're very unique in that we're able to see the perspective of both parts of the ecosystem and really connect that end-to-end workflow, which serves as a strategic advantage for us in the marketplace. And 5G is creating an inflection in investments in this ecosystem, which is just getting ramped up. I'll cover more details on this when I cover the 5G section. For those new to the story, it's worth highlighting that the standards-based technology waves are how innovation gets done in this robust ecosystem, starting with chipset companies to device companies, base stations, network equipment manufacturers, and the enterprise. And test regimes or test routines are built in to part of the standardization process, which enables us to have a sustainable business model from our innovations. We have focused on this ecosystem, and you've seen the results. Significantly above market growth rates, 18% CAGR in the business, and I believe we're on the front end of realizing the fullest potential when we combine all of the acquisition assets in this business. Our aerospace and defense business had a record year in 2019 with $1 billion in sales for the first time. This is a stable business for us. You can see the results there, and one we've been in for multiple decades. This business and the marketplace continues to be an adopter, incubator, and an investor in new technologies way ahead of commercial deployment. You can think of millimeter wave and radar as two powerful examples of that, where this marketplace that we serve, we have been offering solutions to those technologies for well over a decade. And now, these technologies are finding greater commercial scale with automotive embracing radars and millimeter wave in the context of 5G. Positions us very well. As we look ahead, we see a shift and inflection building. With new technologies changing the landscape of security, we see many Ministry of Defense organizations, including the US DoD, really focusing on what's known as technology adoption or defense modernization. And towards that end, we have prioritized our pursuits in 4 key areas. I'll expand upon each one of them in my presentation today. When I take a big picture view of the business and look at what's changing and the biggest opportunity we have, digital transformation is changing the innovation paradigm of our customers in our end markets. The application of connectivity, computation, and security is changing the value landscape in all our markets and our customers' realities. So what are our customers' realities? Our customers today have to deal with accelerating design cycles. They have to go faster, and they have to adopt new technologies to be competitive, and they have to keep improving their productivity. So simply put, they have to take schedule, cost, and scope, 3 powerful drivers, and optimize them, all 3 of them concurrently. So pretty big challenges. But this creates an opportunity for us to grow our value and our contribution to this marketplace. So what are we doing about it? Our actions are starting with disciplined early investments that we're making in these key inflections or megatrends that Ron referenced as well. And we're, in many cases, in all cases, co-innovating with market-defining customers. That really enables us to pick the right targets. And then when we're really focused not on products alone, but on connecting the workflow and creating value for an ecosystem. And where we have gaps, we have a successful track record of accelerating our pursuits through M&A. This operating system is designed to enhance the value that we create in the marketplace, increase our differentiation, and improve the returns to our shareholders over time. So what does this mean to our portfolio? How do our customers internalize this? We're transforming ourselves from being a provider of engineering tools to being an outcome enabler to the key ecosystems we serve. We're sustaining our number 1 position in design and test tools. In this marketplace, our customers know us for providing the highest precision, reliable, high-quality metrology or measurement sciences that allows them to debug their engineering challenges. We have since expanded to deliver first-to-market solutions in areas of the market where there's value to be had and where there's value to be delivered to the customers, such as in 5G. Here, I was just at the Xiaomi launch at Mobile World Congress last year, and the Xiaomi executive invited us to the launch of their next handset, and they said, "You've enabled us to launch our first 5G product, but also enabled us to scale our efforts globally," because they are trying to scale their efforts globally. So that's how an example of how our customers internalize what we do that's different today. And as we move forward, there's a greater value we can capture. As we have delivered more solutions, our customers start the conversation by saying, "Can you get engaged with us earlier and enable us to develop a test strategy for the enterprise?" I know John Page will speak more about this in his section, but we are currently piloting a couple of value-added service opportunities to many customers in the United States, especially in aerospace and defense. So in summary, our portfolio today is very robust. Its differentiation is increasing. As we deliver more and more solutions, we create even more opportunities for us to add services and continue to expand the value we bring to our customers and the marketplace. With that, I'm going to switch to what are we doing from a strategy point of view to enable our continued success. There's 3 pillars to the strategy. First, it's about maximizing our lifecycle value in 5G, where we're well positioned. Second, we're accelerating steady performance and even accelerating growth through our defense modernization solutions. And third, we're seeding our next generation growth opportunity, an exciting opportunity you'll hear more about today, quantum. Let me just put this slide up there for a minute while I sip a glass of water, and I'll come right back to it. As market leaders in 5G, we've developed a strategic view for what the progress in the ecosystem is going to be for the next 3 to 5 years. You'll notice this view encompasses the global deployments that are occurring with 5G, the wireline and wireless technology that are also evolving with time. Let's start with the global deployments. The key takeaway here is it's still very early days with global deployments. Despite all the headlines we see, 70+ operators around the world to date have had limited, and the key word is limited, deployments of 5G. In many cases, those deployments are in the low frequency band or sub-6 gigahertz band of the technology built on a non-standalone NSA or a 4G core. So what's driving the operator interest in 5G? Is it just a hype? I happen to believe that there is a race occurring for network leadership. To move beyond the smartphone-based business model, operators have to continually embrace 5G as a technology, but also embrace millimeter wave for capacity reasons and embrace the SA versions of 5G in order for them to remain competitive with latency needs of the future. This creates this roadmap that we see building in the ecosystem. And what we anticipate to happen is the number of operators that will deploy 5G moving from 70 to over 300 in the next 5 years. These limited scale deployments moving to massive scale, adoption of millimeter wave where spectrum allows, and SA where operator wants to differentiate themselves. This creates a powerful inflection in investments that's building across the ecosystem for the next 3 to 5 years. And as 5G gets deployed, it's not a one-time evolution. We continually see the massive proliferation of data that's going through the networks will require our customers and folks in the ecosystem to embrace new technology waves with 5G wireless and with the wireline standards, which are already in place and we're engaged in. Not to mention that 6G is coming up right around the horizon. So folks, you piece all this together. It's early days in 5G. The investment is still, ramping up in this technology wave, and multiple wireless and wireline technologies are continuing to evolve, and we see a very innovation-rich, opportunity-rich landscape as we scan the horizon. So hopefully this paints the picture for how we view this opportunity. To us, 5G is not just a smartphone that works better and faster, although very soon some of the smartphone devices the best ones will have 5G in them. To us, it's a bigger vision, right? It is the connectivity fabric for the new digital economy. Many regulators around the world are now contemplating, including the FCC, contemplating adding latency requirements on a nationwide scale for their networks. This sort of resonates with the message I just landed. 5G is causing a complete change to every aspect of the communication systems. That's going to get re-engineered and redesigned, creating more investments across the breadth of the ecosystem we serve, which is robust and dynamic. It starts with the physical layer, where a new progression of higher speeds is necessitating customers to invest in complex technologies. And you start to see at the industry level, the physical layer evolves every 3 years, roughly, where base stations have to be turned over and devices change as well. But there is sustained investments in the protocol layer. We have long recognized the trend that increasing differentiation for our customers come from the protocol layer that they develop. And so they are sustaining investments for the long run for differentiation purposes, both on the wireless and on the wireline. And then as 5G gets deployed, we see a new opportunity for continued progression on the value dimension in the application layer emerging. This involves re-architecting today's cloud platforms with microservices, as an example. Security infrastructure will have to get completely redesigned as well, not to mention the applications of today that have to get refactored. So again, I go back to the theme I started with. Early days, investment ramp building in the ecosystem will continue for at least 3 to 5 years and beyond. So how are we as Keysight positioned? I'd say we're uniquely positioned, given our strength in physical layer to enable our customers' physical layer flow, and our expansion into the protocol layer is going very well. It's a big part of how we're winning in 5G through the acquisitions that we have made, Anite, 84, Ixia, and Prisma. We have the largest portfolio of assets in the protocol layer, which gives us a strategic advantage in this marketplace. And as 5G evolves, we see this greenfield space opportunity to continually move our value for our customers. Today, I'll share with you a powerful example of this when I continue my presentation. So what have we done so far in 5G? We have built the industry's most comprehensive, most feature-rich 5G platform that exists. This is a complex picture by design because it's taken us 4,000 man-years of effort to build this industry-leading technology stack. It's not about how beautiful the site looks. I think it's very beautiful. But it's about what it enables our customers to do, which is it enables us to deploy solutions at a rapid rate for our customers. Let me go into a little bit about the details of this technology stack. It starts with the physical layer, where we can seamlessly migrate our customers between sub-6 gigahertz to millimeter wave. New bands are being added, no problem. We continually evolve them because we've designed this ground up for the lifecycle value creation in the technology. As you go higher in the protocol layer, our differentiation continues to increase and our value potential continues to increase. We support SA, NSA versions of 5G, DSS. We just announced a couple of collaborations recently with Qualcomm and Samsung on DSS, which is a technology to reform spectrum, 4G spectrum for 5G use cases. We support R&D and manufacturing, grounds up, and we're extending it into operations. Our customers have taken our platform, have embedded their automation tools on top of them to realize even greater productivity, and for us, that's much more of a stickier relationship with our customers. If you take away one thing from this slide, you can see the sheer sort of focus on software in our platform. This creates a runway for improved margins for our business and especially the recurring revenue potential as well. Our customers, over 375 and counting, have today embraced this platform, and they continue to get a lot of value from them. And our interactions with them is very agile. We interact with our customers 2 to 3 times a week, given how our relationship has evolved in this technology. This is the reason why we're winning in 5G today, and I believe this is the reason why we'll be continued to be differentiated as the life cycle progresses. Our value proposition in 5G is compelling. It may start with our products or technology, but I think it's the work that we have done very early on to enable an ecosystem of customers to be successful. That's the foundation of our differentiation. We did not wait for the standards to be completed. We enabled the standards to be completed. Over 900 standards contributions to 3GPP, over 100 trials that we participated in. All those learnings give us institutional learning and expertise that we're going to monetize over the life cycle. Out on the hall today, you will see some examples of the designs that we've enabled, but over 75% of the designs in 5G, both smart devices, other form factor devices, drones, virtual reality headsets, base stations, are currently, we estimate, enabled by Keysight's technology. We offer our customers a compelling advantage from a time-to-market perspective that creates a rich relationship for us. So what about the future? We are well-positioned for the future. We're executing right now on multi-year industry roadmaps, working with our customers and the industry, and our customers continue to endorse us. We have received over 50 customer endorsements in the last 12 months. Now I'll switch over and share 3 powerful examples of our differentiation. The first example is how we've enabled an ecosystem. In Japan, a lead operator was faced with the challenge of embracing a new technology, 5G, very challenging timelines with the Olympics looming, and they had to put in a new frequency band, 3.5 gigahertz. So the trifecta of challenges for this customer. They then went ahead and formed an ecosystem of partners, chipset companies, device makers, and network equipment manufacturers to enable that. They selected Keysight as their partner, given our early lead in 5G. And this relationship is something we're very proud of, sustained it over 3 years, made significant contributions to enable that deployment. What our customers have told us is the work they've done with us, with our team, has significantly de-risked their launch, but also given them greater confidence in the performance they can expect in the real world based on the work they do with us in the lab. Validates our value proposition. Not only have we gained tens of millions of dollars in Japan from the work that we have done, but we also continue to see a customer interest in adopting millimeter wave just getting started. So we see a good potential for continued engagement in Japan. The second example, so I know some of our investors are very interested to hear our manufacturing strategy. So this is an example of our manufacturing playbook at play. We're really redefining 5G manufacturing. A lead network equipment manufacturer around the world was looking at a very daunting challenge. In the baseline scenario, 5G represented significant improvement, a significant increase, exponential increase, I should say, of test times for their product. And that was not sustainable for the economies that they needed for their business. And as the first point, the new spectrum that they had in 5G, they had to account for that. More bands coming down the road, millimeter wave capabilities, more complexity, and then the use of phased arrays significantly increased the number of test points that they had to test. So what did we do? We designed a modular transceiver that enabled them to scale for the needs of today, but also gave them a pathway of expansion. Just enough performance, focus on speed of test, which is important for this application. Not only that, we disaggregated our measurement IP from the cloud, and we have embedded our measurement IP inside of their cloud infrastructure. This gave them another order of magnitude improvement and set us up for a software-based business model in a manufacturing opportunity. So again, we've transformed the way we think about this. And this is not an isolated case. In this particular case with the customer, we secured also a multi-year commitment from them to continue to work with us as their deployments increase. We'll be well positioned. But over the last quarter, I also spoke about this on the earnings call, we have secured a substantial win in components, which are just ramping. We continue to believe there's increasing complexity in components that will drive more of the test needs with 5G, and we're well positioned there. With millimeter wave, many of the devices out there are tested even in production with Keysight's platform based on this modular architecture. So we're well positioned as the lifecycle to transition our customers through their lifecycle journey and as manufacturing opportunity emerges. The third example is something that is an example of speed and culture. I know Ingrid spoke a lot about the culture of the company. Hopefully this paints the picture. We've launched the industry's only 5G security testbed so far. So why did we do this? It's very clear if you've read the Wall Street Journal or Forbes magazine, there's considerable concerns around security in the context of 5G. And the concerns are coming from having billions of devices potentially on the network, creating increased security vulnerabilities. So we took our Ixia security toolkit and we connected it to our 5G stack, essentially. And the toolkit gives our customers ability to simulate different security vulnerabilities, and our 5G stack allows them to emulate how a 5G device and base stations would behave if they're under attack in this scenario. Our ability to prototype these real-world scenarios in the lab is very unique. We are the only solution that's out there today that enables customers. It took us 3 months and 2 weeks for the teams to get together to do this, demonstrating the speed. And I'm very happy to report within 2 weeks of launching this solution, we've secured our first win, first order from a major Ministry of Defense organization. We continue to partner in this manner and innovate to the future. So you heard from me 3 examples of our differentiation. Our differentiation for the leader in the ecosystem. Second, our strategy to win in manufacturing. And third is in new emerging greenfield space areas, such as in security. We're continuing to innovate. We see this runway in 5G we're really excited about. We see significant opportunities is the headline with 5G, and we're well positioned to win. With this technology, we'll see increasing complexity as standards roll from 15 to 16 to 17. Even though the standards work is completed on 15, right now as deployments are occurring, as you probably heard about the Swiss operator, there's considerable challenges that are coming back requiring even more innovation in R&D. We see the vertical use cases expanding. I know Sunchai will speak more about auto, which is an exciting opportunity, but there are others with enterprise networks and industrial IoT applications. All of this in aggregate will result in increasing the number of customers for our 5G platform from 375 to well over 1,000. So we see this runway building. Some of the drivers that our investors may appreciate is we believe from an R&D perspective, there is sustaining spend for the long run for differentiation, and we're on the front end of this. And you can see some independent reports from ANSYS in this case also confirming our hypothesis here. Second, as deployment scale, we'll see opportunities for conformance, validation, manufacturing, and operations. Operations part of the opportunity is enabled by our Ixia's capabilities, especially visibilities offerings. And then there's a multi-industry proliferation, which is an additional opportunity we're on the front end of. So you heard a lot, but let me summarize. It's early days in 5G, significant opportunities that we see, and we're well positioned to win. Our differentiation in the space is increasing as the life cycle is growing, and we're investing to continue to win in this opportunity. Let me now move over and speak about the second growth opportunity around our aerospace and defense modernization efforts. Digital transformation, again, is changing the landscape across the aerospace and defense industry, which was a traditional industry that innovated in decade-long cycles. If you looked at the latest U.S. National Defense Strategy document that's in public domain, you will see that the customers there's a renewed interest to accelerate innovation in this space. There's 4 key areas in the defense modernization trend that we're focused on. Electromagnetic spectrum operations, I'll cover the big inflections in each one of them, and I have a video that sort of brings it all together. Today's modern defense security systems rely on robust communication links between assets on the ground, space, air, etc. If one of those links, especially the GPS links, are compromised, then you could basically render your security systems defunct. So there's increased emphasis on testing that's building the lab. And this is an opportunity we have been working on for the last 5 years. We feel very good about. And I have a video that'll sort of bring it home. In space and satellite, there's renewed interest building in the industry, driven by the search for the new high ground and privatization of space. We've offered lifecycle solutions to this industry. With the scale increasing, we continue to be well positioned. In general, across communications and research, there's increase in spend in the US DoD and other nations of the world in new materials, in embracing commercial technologies such as 5G, which we view as very favorable. For example, the US RDT&E line item is currently proposed to be at the all-time high of over $100 billion. With that, let's play the video. And
the electromagnetic spectrum connects all of us. The demand for that spectrum continues to build. Today's airwaves are both congested and contested. Reliable, secure communications and data links across land, sea, air, and space are vital for successful operations. Control over the electromagnetic environment is essential to developing a real-time assessment of the operational environment. Emulating real-world emitters, such as sophisticated radars and complex communications, requires high-fidelity simulations in the lab to pre-test systems before they deploy. Success depends on precise signal generation, capture, and analysis. As an industry leader in electronic design and test, Keysight is uniquely positioned to deliver flexible, scalable EW threat simulation and analysis solutions. Keysight solutions combine agile signal generators, calibration hardware, and application software to simulate dynamic signaling scenarios in the lab and in the field, resulting in significant operational cost savings while supporting mission success. These state-of-the-art systems enable the modernization of defense and electronic technologies. Major domestic and international defense programs leverage Keysight's advanced solutions. Whether in the air, on the ground, or at sea, we deliver mission-critical solutions to ensure uninterrupted and optimized system performance, helping customers prevail today and in the electromagnetic environment of the future.
As you can see, we are very excited about the progress we're making in our aerospace and defense business with modernization as a trend that will play out for the long term. This opportunity started off as an instrumentation opportunity 5 years ago. We have since evolved this to this complex system integration sale that you see right here with software content and additional services that are bundled in. We're currently designed in and selected by the US DoD in many of the labs, and we continue to make good progress with our efforts internationally. Next, I'll switch over to speak about an exciting opportunity in quantum computing. Many nations around the world are spending billions of dollars to apply quantum physics to solve modern challenges in security, computation, and connectivity or communication. For those of you who want a crash course on quantum physics or on quantum computing, you have two choices today. One, you can enroll in a program at MIT, a week-long program, really in-depth, that talks about quantum computing, or I may have an easier alternative for you, which is watch Big Bang Theory, the comedy series, and look for the episode Schrodinger's Cat. I repeat, Schrodinger's Cat, and you may get a crash course and well ahead in understanding this opportunity. At the summary, today's best supercomputing technology does not provide scale needed for some of the breakthroughs in several key applications. AI, machine learning with big data as a big driver there, or in encryption and threat simulations and logistics, or in drug discovery fields. Quantum, to be perfectly honest, has the potential, but today's technology of quantum is fairly primitive in its uses. And so there's considerable effort in engineering breakthroughs that have to happen over the next decade to provide commercial scale so that the technology can provide these exponential parallel computing capabilities. We've been working with several researchers for the last 3 to 4 years in this field to enable success here. And it turns out quantum computers at its core have something called qubits, which is the fundamental information element. And to control these qubits, you need high-precision RF or light sources. And Keysight's high-precision instrumentation are a perfect fit for this opportunity. Today, very excited to announce the 3-year partnership that we've had with MIT in public domain to advance innovation. This is a picture that's taken in MIT's Quantum Lab, and you can see a lot of Keysight content in here. Ron referenced earlier the first acquisition that we made in Labor Quantum in this space, which really positions us not only for the opportunities we see today, but also to enable customers to solve more software opportunities that are building up in the quantum stack. We're very excited by the possibilities that quantum offers despite the challenges that exist for the technology. And here we've taken a very early position, which sets us up very nicely for this long-term opportunity. So I covered 3 parts of the strategy: 5G and how we're maximizing lifecycle value, our acceleration of defense modernization solutions, and a new exciting opportunity we're seeing in quantum technology. To bring it all together, we're well positioned in attractive growing end markets. Our market size today in CSG is $12.7 billion and growing, and we only have 25% share. We see strong drivers of sustainable investments in both commercial communications end markets and in aerospace defense end markets, driven by 5G and defense modernization efforts that are happening. Digital transformation is further accelerating our customers' investments in technology, one we are well positioned to deliver. Our software-centric solution strategy that Ron and Jay spoke about position us very well to capture and maximize the potential from this marketplace. So here is what you can expect more of from CSG and Keysight as we look ahead. We're investing to expand our market position and leadership. We'll continue to accelerate our portfolio transformation to enable our customers' success. We're increasing the software contributions and services adds that we can add to create greater value and enable our customer success again. And finally, our differentiation in this marketplace is increasing. There's never been a more exciting time to be at Keysight as today, and we're very excited to share with you all the progress we're making in our end markets, but equally important, the huge runway we see in building in the marketplace for our solutions. Thank you very much, and with that, I'll hand it off to Jason Carey.
Well, thank you, Satish. And with that, I'd like to invite Ron, Neil, Ingrid, Jay, and Satish back up to the platform here for a Q&A session.
Thank you. Tim Long at Barclays. Just wanted to hit on a two-parter on the recurring revenues, and you can lump software in there. Obviously, it's been an impressive move over the years. Number one, could you talk a little bit about kind of push-pull? Obviously, this is a directive for the company, but can you talk a little bit about how the customers feel and their appetite for this? And then secondly, can you talk about some of the economic benefits here? You know, margins, I'm assuming they're better. What does it mean for retention rates and market share? And then third there, what does it mean for kind of cyclicality of some of your businesses, let's say for 5G or so? Would this move to this more of this recurring model smooth some of the typical cyclicality that you've had in parts of your business? Thank you.
Sure, I'll mention a couple of things, and I'll turn it over to Neil. First, with regard to recurring revenue, we were worried at first when we moved from what we call perpetual software licenses, where someone pays for it up front, and we recognize the revenue in conjunction with the orders, and we have moved, obviously, to more of a subscription service. We're not completely there. We're continuing to migrate customers over to the recurring revenue model, but we have not found a lot of pushback at all on that. Another area which ties to that is our services area, where we've moved to for-pay support. And most industries already do this, and you see very high percentages of revenue that people realize because of their support environment. We were giving it away for free for 75 years, and it just doesn't make sense. We can't staff it properly, and we can't get the recurring revenue. So we were also concerned about moving to what we call Keysight Care, which is a contract that people can buy for 1 year or 3 years to buy in free support or buy in support and pay for it. So that one we also expected more pushback. But both of them, they've gone very well from a customer perspective, and it hasn't been an issue. As far as software margins, obviously it's close to 95%. Depends how much support there is. You take support. It's if you put the support costs in your overall cost of sales as opposed to putting them down in the G&A line like you do on other R&D. Positioning it up there, we're seeing 85% margins. And you can see our overall gross margin hit an all-time high, where when we started the company, it was in the 56, 57% range, and now we're at 65%. So you can see how that's going to continue to drive our margins. It's also going to take out a lot of the cyclicality, and you can just do the math on looking at our 19% of revenue. You can take a look at how much of that's going to be spread over the year and effectively linearized, and that base will continue to build as our order backlog continues to build and the amount of recurring revenue continues to go up.
The only thing I would add is I do see it as a big opportunity for us going forward to further expand our recurring revenues. We have about 30% of our revenue today coming from software and services, but our software sales today are still reasonably heavily weighted towards perpetual or one-time sales. We're on a multi-year path to migrate our customers to the point where they're buying software from Keysight on a time-based or subscription basis. And as Ron has indicated, that's the industry standard at this point in time. And so we're comfortable that it's not going to happen instantaneously, but over the next several years, we'll be able to migrate our customers in that direction.
Yeah, and you can look at our support revenue and see what's happening there, and you could look at our software revenue and both of those together. You can see our recurring revenue, let's just say growth rate, and do a calculation.
Great, thank you. Brandon, behind you, Jim.
Thank you very much for the details. It's Jim Suva from Citigroup. While I often talk about Keysights as being an agnostic way to play the 5G cycle, the biggest pushback I always get is, when is it going to peak? And people feel like there's a big peak coming or a cliff coming. And a lot of your presentations have talked about kind of, more communication devices and things like that. For the investors in the room and the webcast, can you talk about how you're viewing this concern or this elephant in the room about a peak and, what's different about 5G that wasn't with 4G, 3G, 2G, LTE?
Sure. First thing I'll say before I'll let Satish say a couple of words is we're far from the peak. When we were in 4G, we played mostly in manufacturing, which is a more lumpy business. Now what we're doing is playing in R&D, which is much more steady state. Even when someone's done with design A for 5G, the engineers don't sit around with their hands at, whether it's Samsung or Nokia or Ericsson or any one of our other customers, they get put on to the next generation. So the R&D investment does continue. If it does move eventually to 6G, we will be there. As far as manufacturing, we're looking at the value-added manufacturing. So there's a lot of value-added manufacturing, for instance, in components. We're continuing to do that. Not so much in handsets. Handsets, there isn't much value add because all the sub-assemblies are tested, and we're involved in that for a lot of the players. Until you move to a base station, where if you have one cell phone that goes out, one person's upset. If you have a base station go out, you could have this whole building pretty irate. So the testing that goes on for base stations is an order of magnitude higher, requires higher end equipment, much more robust and stable, and that's where we are very, very strong in that area.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. I think you covered it. And Jim, you're right. Keysight is the agnostic way to play 5G. We think so. Thanks for highlighting that. I'll just say two things. On the Lifecycle front, we cover substantially more than we've covered in 4G. I spoke about all the different phases and that we participated in, including operations that are yet to come. But as 5G evolves, this whole application layer opportunity continues to play out. So that's why we think that when we look at the horizon, given our portfolio, our contributions to both wireless and wireline, we're very strong, and we see this 3 to 5 year at least runway that we're excited about.
And network test and network visibility, which is back in the operations phase on the wireline size. We didn't even have those businesses. We acquired those from Ixia, and those haven't even really started to ramp. We've seen the 100 gig build out, but we're really at the beginning of 400 gig.
Great, thanks, Ron, Satish. Nicole, right over here. Rick? Sorry, we'll come back to you. Yep, Rick?
Rick Eastman at Baird. Just a question maybe for Jay. Are there examples as Pathway has gained, I'm assuming this is sold by seats, or is it a license sale? But have you seen customers scale up the applications that they use Pathway for? In other words, if we get a seat of Pathway deployed, has the revenue generated by that seat continued to increase?
I think it's too early still to be able to say that with definitiveness, but I would say that that's very much what we expect, because what happens is we get in there with the first application that the platform delivers, and the platform is still a moving effort that's adding more and more capabilities, as I had described, and it is going to be sticky for those customers so that successive re-ups, all of the Pathway elements will be subscription-based. They will never have perpetual terms available. And so as they re-up, it will become a richer set of solutions that they're subscribing to.
But I think what you're getting at, Rick, it's not built into your model yet. If that's built into looking at our past orders and what's seen, it's just starting the ramp. We spent the first years building the overall architecture for Pathway so you could have common data and common visibility regardless of any application. And that was a complete rewrite that we had to do to create that overall framework. That's been done, and now the applications are coming. So we're in the first inning of that. The architecture's in the 9th inning, but the actual revenue build-out's in the first inning.
And then can you also provide just a little bit of color around the service business? Obviously, Keysight Customer Care, I mean, you're now selling kind of an attachment rate on the service side. Has that boosted margins on the service side? Or maybe you could just throw some color on how much they've improved.
Sure. I'll just say a couple things. First of all, we're going to cover service right after the break. Okay. And at that point, John's going to go into this, and then we're going to have another Q&A session, so we'll hold on that. But I'll just say that we've seen margin expansion in services. Services is lower than software and hardware in general, but some of the pieces that we're adding, like Keysight Care, are really boosting our services margin, which takes our weighted average up.
All right, we'll take one more over here.
Hi, this is Nick Heisler speaking for Mediosania at Susquehanna. So first, just on the long-term guide, that 4 to 6%, is that implied just organic growth or organic or inorganic? And then I have a follow-up about 5G.
It's an organic growth rate, and it's an organic growth rate for the long term. So we've seen markets move along at different rates. We took that from a lower rate before. We increased it 50 basis points earlier, and we just increased it another 50 basis point. But you can compound that out, and we're pretty confident in that because our share gains have been very steady now for 5 years.
Perfect. And then just on 5G, it's a kind of a twofold question. One is there a specific component of the 5G test solution suite that provides the most revenue opportunity? And then on top of that, what percentage of your customers are buying the entire suite, like from R&D through optimization?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll answer it.
Take that, Ron.
Yeah, sure.
I think the second one is easy. I'd say operational opportunities are still very early, so we're partnering at this point to figure that out. I would say bulk of the investments right now are in R&D, which we think will sustain longer and for the long run. Manufacturing is just starting to kick in, if you look at the total spend. But if you look at the consistency of customers, we see a large fraction of those 375 customers that we have built over the last 4 years continuing to be engaged with us on opportunities that lead to orders today, but lead to funnel growth for the future. So we feel good about that visibility and new customer adds that Mark will talk about, Mark Wallace, in terms of our ability to reach more. The endorsements we are getting from our current customers position us very well to attract the next set of customers, because people want to work with an industry leader that simplifies their life.
Very good.
And we've held back on some of them. Obviously, we've only announced about 50
That's right.
so far, but we have much more than that, as Satish just mentioned.
Okay, we got time for a couple more. Yes, on this side of the room.
It's David Ridley Lane with B of A. When you look at the third-party software that your clients are using in addition to Pathway, are there possible assets that would be stronger as part of Keysight than independent of it? And would you be, do you consider software
Sure.
acquisitions?
There are some other good assets. We've been very careful to make sure that we have an open platform so you can plug in the API, you can plug in the software into the Pathway framework, and Pathway will sit at the highest level in your overall software architecture. So whether you're using a LabVIEW product or some other products or MATLAB, you'll be able to work or use those in conjunction. As far as having them as part of Keysight, there's certain products, and I won't go into which ones would be great to have, but we're very ROIC conscious. So we're looking at those assets, but we're not going to go ahead and spend a lot of money. You know the multiples, obviously, on software and what's there. There are some that will make sense and that we are pursuing. We've looked at over 300 different acquisitions. We've done 10 because we're very selective. But again, we're not going to do it unless we can really make sure our ROIC is above our WACC.
Great. Any others? One more? Okay. Brian?
Hi, Brian Yoon from Deutsche Bank. Thanks for taking the question. Can you expand on the operations lifecycle opportunity for you guys? And if you could put that in the context of other lifecycle stages. So for example, in R&D, you have possibly the highest pricing power, maybe the highest rate of growth, and a long tail of R&D spend to follow that. And then as you move towards production and manufacturing, maybe see a little bit of headwinds, modest headwinds to margins. So how does operations kind of play there?
So, yeah, thank you. Clearly, operations is new, evolving opportunities to be seen. However, some of the wins that we've had, they're small right now, but they're mostly in the value-added spaces such as analytics. For example, we have a solution for drive test for 5G that's adopted by a few operators already because they're trying to see how the 5G network behaves relative to the 4G network. So that's an example where we're providing them not only those tools, but also giving them more analytics to assess the data that's been collected. And as 5G evolves, with wireless and wireline coming together, we see this convergence in the architecture of the network. So there's a single core network with multiple accesses, both on RF and fiber, if you think of it as examples. And this is creating a complete redesign, which we're currently engaged in with customers. And this is mostly a value-added space. It's not just, deployment as in climb up the tower and check if the RF is on. But this is more of a value-added space opportunities where we expect the margins to be high.
Any other comments, Ron? No. Okay, great. Well, I know you've been very patient with us here, so let's take a short 10-minute break, and let's come back at about 2 or 3 minutes after the top of the hour, and we'll get started with the second half of the day.